Good morning, everyone. My name is Shirin Asadova, and I'm from Uzbekistan. Today, I will be presenting my research project that I conducted in social comparison and early adulthood income. My research paper's question is specifically, in what ways does exposure to peer luxury consumption on Instagram shape the educational and career aspirations of teenagers with part-time jobs? Let me begin with some background information first. As we can know, Instagram has become a major part of everyday life for many teenagers. Every day, they scroll through carefully created posts showing luxury vacations, expensive restaurants, and seemingly perfect lifestyles. At the same time, many teenagers are working part-time jobs. For many, this is the first experience in their life earning their own money while also making important decisions about their future. For example, if to pursue higher education or enter the workforce after high school. Previous research has shown that social media can influence self-esteem through social comparison. For example, when people see others who are wealthier or more successful, they often compare themselves and may feel less satisfied with their own situation. However, many studies have focused on how social media affects emotions, but very few of them have examined whether these comparisons influence major life decisions. This gap in the literature inspired me to do my research. To explain this process, I introduced a concept called the aspiration gap. The aspiration gap refers to the tension between a teenager's current reality and the lifestyle they see online by others. In simple terms, it does mean that it is the gap between the teenagers where they are now and where they want to be in the future. Now, let's move on to the methods section. For my research, I use the synthetic participants. At this point, you might be wondering what exactly are the synthetic participants? Synthetic participants are a relatively new concept in research methodology. Unlike traditional studies, synthetic participants are AI-generated personas. Although these participants are artificial, they are designed using demographic and psychological characteristics that closely resemble real people. Researchers use synthetic participants because they can significantly reduce the time, cost, and effort and logistical challenges associated with collecting large amounts of data from human participants. For this study, I generated 200 personas using OpenAI GPT-4 model. Each participant was assigned several characteristics, including age, gender, family background, patient level, and type of part-time job. After creating these personas, GPT-4 role played each participant and answered 15 open-ended interview questions. These questions focused on Instagram use, exposure to luxury consumption, and future plans regarding education and work. As for transparency, all responses were labeled as a synthetic, and all analysis and conclusions were conducted independently by me. Now, let's move on to the findings. As you can see in the figure 1, the results reveal three distinct groups. 46% of participants choose pursuing education, 39% choose entering the workforce, and 15% were uncertain. This result tells that while education remained the most common preference, substantial proportion of teenagers were attracted by the possibility of earning money immediately through work. However, interesting findings emerged when I examined the factors influencing these decisions. The first factor was family background. Teenagers from families that strongly valued education mostly preferred educational pathways. In contrast, teenagers from families facing financial pressures were much more likely to choose immediate employment. The second factor was patience level. As you can see in the figure 2, patients participants were much more likely to choose education. On the other hand, impatient participants tended to choose work because they preferred immediate rewards rather than waiting several years for the benefits of higher education. The third factor was job type. Participants working in skill-based jobs such as tutoring or coaching were more likely to favor education. Meanwhile, those working in labor-intensive jobs usually choose the workforce directly. Together, these findings suggest that family environment, patience level, and the work experience all shape how teenagers see the aspiration gap effect. Now let's discuss what these findings mean. Across nearly all responses, participants describe a tension between their current lives and the luxurious lifestyle they observe online. This is exactly what I refer as the aspiration gap. My findings suggest that exposure to luxury content on Instagram does not simply influence emotions. Instead, it may influence how teenagers think about their own life. The aspiration gap appears to activate intemporal discounting. In other words, teenagers begin weighing immediate income against long-term educational rewards. Depending on their personal circumstances, they may be pulled towards either work or education. Now, let's move on to the conclusions. This study makes three main contributions. First, it introduced the aspiration gap as the important mechanism. Second, it extends existing theories of social comparison and conspicuous consumption from emotional outcomes into future planning. Third, it shows that usefulness of synthetic participants as an innovative and cost-effective research method for generating and testing new hypotheses. The practical implications are also important. Parents and educators should not only focus on how social media makes teenagers feel, but also on how it shapes what they want for their future. Financial literacy programs may also benefit from helping students critically evaluate the messages about success and the status that they face online. Okay, as for future directions, there are several exciting opportunities for further research. First, future studies should replicate these findings using real human participants to determine whether the same pattern emerge outside the synthetic population. Second, researchers should conduct randomized experiments in which one group is exposed to luxury Instagram content, and another one is shown the neutral content, which is the control group. This would help if the Instagram exposure have causation, not just merely correlation. Finally, future studies could examine these patterns across different cultures and countries to better understand how economic and cultural factors influence the aspiration gap. In conclusion, my research suggests that Instagram luxury posts may do more than simply affect self-esteem. They may also shape teenagers imagine their future and how they navigate the trade-off between earning money and investing in tomorrow. As for the reference, here you can find the list of the references that I used in my paper, which are readily available in open to public. At the end, I would also like to thank my mentor, Danielle Zibia, my program manager, Samia Kolgut, and the entire Lumiere team for their guidance and support throughout my research journey. Thank you.